Enemies in video games tend to, not care, let's say. Few of them have many self-preservation instincts, and that's fine. Like, they're supposed to be a challenge and they're supposed to come at you. But what about games where it's not like that? Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 games where enemies are legitimately scared of you. Starting off with number 10, it's Ghost of Tsushima, a game where scaring enemies is a central mechanic. It's called terror, and everything you do has a small chance of triggering it. When an enemy gets terrified, they panic and run away. Only happens rarely at the start of the game, but as you upgrade your abilities and equipment, striking terror into the hearts of the invading Mongols starts happening much more frequently. The chances of triggering a terror state, mostly mechanical. As you level up, Jin gets more equipment and armor. That makes terror pop off more frequently, but it gives the impression that your reputation as the ghost is growing, and that enemies are becoming more and more afraid of you because of your reputation. It's a simple system, but the way it triggers is quite satisfying, especially when you finally unlock the ghost stance, which causes every enemy to instantly become terrified all at once. They just stand there dumbfounded while you slowly saunter around slaughtering them one at a time. It's such a satisfying ability, and you unlock it at the perfect moment, too. It's where Jin goes from being a regular old samurai, where he transforms into being a force of nature. Many games say the bad guys are scared of you, but few games manage to really show it, like in Ghost of Tsushima. And number 9 is Kingdom Come Deliverance. In most games, combat's a binary choice. You either fight or you don't. But in Kingdom Come 2, they try to make things a little more complicated. A fight can break out at any time, but sometimes you just don't want to be part of it. Or you don't want to kill someone. So at any time you can surrender, and it's up to who you're fighting if they'll actually let you do it. Enemies will behave the same. Sometimes after taking up damage, an opponent will get down on their knees and beg for mercy, giving you the honorable option of letting them leave, or you can extort them, get some money, or if you want, you can even kill them. Either way, it's pretty satisfying when this happens, because it's not like you start this game off strong. Just taking down a single opponent is pretty satisfying early on, but I guess it takes a lot of work to get to this point, so it feels good.
Mercy! Spare me! Get lost and don't come back! All right.
By the time you get to the end of the game, you're cutting down entire bandit camps by yourself, and you really feel like a beast when sometimes enemies just straight up turn tail and run when they see the corpses you're piling up. Bandits might bolt when you got them outmatched too. I don't know about you, but if I see a guy rolling up in full plate mail in the middle of the night, and all I've got to fight back with are a pair of undies and a generous sense of self-preservation, I think the only thing that really makes sense is to run, right?
My God, it's a slaughterhouse!
Kingdom Come is actually kind of realistic when it comes to armor. If the weapon's weak enough, it'll literally do no damage to you. So it only makes sense that enemies would be terrified in that situation. You can't be killed, so it's not a fair fight. Run, Forrest, run. And number 8 is the Halo series. One of the many things that made the original Halo such a classic was the enemy AI. They weren't just brainless generic mooks that stood in place or ran at you in a straight line until they were dead. The enemies in Halo had, or have, because their AI has been mostly unchanged since the first game, character. They have personality characterized through their AI behaviors. Even all the way back to the very first game, the enemies had different ways of reacting when Master Chief was around. The elites are the leaders of the Covenant forces. They always just fight hard and rarely show signs of weakness, but if you kill them, the smaller and weaker grunts' first reaction is to panic and run around with their arms over their head uselessly. It's always a satisfying thing to see. You don't always get the chance to see it because a lot of times the elites tend to be hanging back and shooting at you, but it's easier to clear out the grunts before taking out the elites generally. But sometimes if an elite tries to flank you or just gets separated from the rest of the pack, you can get to see an entire squad of grunts go nuts after you take out their elite. It gets even better in the sequels when the Covenant starts speaking English instead of alien gibberish. That's when you really get to hear the panic in the voices of the grunts. It's usually just funny seeing these goofy little aliens get scared, but sometimes more trouble than it's worth. Like when the occasional grunt decides to kamikaze themselves, pulling out 2 energy grenades and charging right at you.
Through me! Firing!
At number 7 is Dynasty Warriors Origins. Dynasty Warriors are all about morale, but in past games you don't feel it quite as viscerally as you do in Dynasty Warriors Origins. How morale works is pretty straightforward. When morale's low, an army barely puts up a fight. When it's high, they clean house. Lowering enemy morale is always a top priority in the game, because at high morale, enemy armies become this churning sea of death that singles you out and slaps you silly. Lower morale, of course, enemy formations get a lot easier to deal with. Difference between the two states is more pronounced than in almost any other game in the series, at least that I can remember. Not just in how much morale affects the army's overall strength, but also how the army animates. Low morale, enemies aren't just slower and weaker, they look sluggish and demoralized. They become more easily frightened, and they're prone to tumbling over ass over tea kettle when they get scared, or just straight up abandon the fight and make a run for it.
Take this!
Oh my God! The enemy officer has been defeated.
Where in the old games, enemies seemed like they had zero survival instincts at all, this game at least tries to make the faceless cannon fodder feel a little less brainless. They react in fear when you whip out a powerful attack, or give up when a battle is over, or just make a run for it when things don't go their way. It doesn't make the average soldier appear any more dangerous, but it is successful at making you feel strong.
Let's end this.
Believe this.
The enemy officer.
Do not think your
has been defeated.
disobedience will go unnoticed. You will come to regret your actions.
At number 6, I Am Alive. This is kind of an interesting but flawed post-apocalyptic survival game. Had some unique ideas. I'd like to see some other games copy some of the ideas, if only because I don't see Ubisoft making a sequel anytime soon. Not all of this game's ideas are great, to be fair, but the way it handles guns is pretty damn creative. The thing this game understands is that for actual flesh and blood human beings, guns are kind of scary. If you get one pointed at you, it's going to be a frightening situation no matter who you are, because all it takes is a little pressure and you're either dead or seriously injured. So in I Am Alive, if you point a gun at an enemy for the first time and they don't have a gun of their own, they'll put up their hands and surrender.
No, don't. I'm not worth a bullet.
One interesting wrinkle here is that ammo is extremely low in this game, so it's not just possible, but likely you'll point a gun with no ammo at someone. But as long as they don't know that you're empty, they'll be scared and do what you want. That's part of the strategy for dealing with bandit encounters, actually. You have to divide and conquer using as few bullets as possible. It's a really interesting idea, and I'd like to see it expanded on somewhere else, but there's a lot more they could do with this system to make it even more tense. The Last of Us borrowed some of the broad ideas out there, but the overall system's a lot more simplified. It's more of a traditional third-person shooter compared to whatever they're trying to do with I Am Alive. In most games, a pistol is a pea shooter, but in this game, it's a weapon everyone's terrified of, and that's pretty unique, if nothing else.
Another stray looking to get a beating.
What happened to Holly?
Shit! He's fine! Don't shoot. You win.
At number 5 is Mark of the Ninja, a 2012 Xbox Live Arcade game. Kind of an old indie game, not remembered as fondly as some other games of the Summer of Arcade era, but it's still one of the best all-time stealth games, and it wouldn't look out of place coming out now. It's pretty timeless. What's so great about this game is how much leeway it gives you to play the game your way, while still being a hardcore stealth experience. You're never able to just run around and slaughter everyone like you're playing an action game, but there's a surprisingly large amount of leeway given to the stealth mechanics. The most interesting and chaotic option is the Path of Nightmares, using weapons and tools to terrify your enemies. In most games, terrified enemies just make a run for it, but in Mark of the Ninja, their behavior is a lot more complex. When entering a terrified state, guards move more slowly and predictably. They give up on their standard patrol route, and more significantly, if you do anything to scare them, like set up a distraction near them, then they'll immediately open fire towards the direction of the sound. Using terror to your advantage to trick guards into killing each other, which only makes them more terrified. The presence of a dead body makes enemies even more trigger-fingered. Just be sure not to get caught in the crosshairs. Going the terror route can be risky and unpredictable, but it's a lot of fun. At number 4 is Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. You can't have a list like this without mentioning the Middle-earth games. Monolith may be no more, but their innovations in stealth action games can't be ignored. Even if most of the industry never managed to take their ball and keep it rolling, many of the best ideas from these games stopped here. And I'm not just talking about the Nemesis system stuff. I mean a lot of the entertaining ways you can torment and terrify enemies in these games. There's just so many ways to scare orcs that by the end, you almost start feeling sorry for them. Like they barely stand a chance against your supernatural killing machine of a main character. Just naturally by playing the game, orcs get increasingly scared of you. They talk about your guy like he's an unstoppable force of death, and you can make it so certain captains are so scared that they just run away the second they see you. Then there's all these other ways to terrify regular orcs, like the brutalized stealth skill, where you can sneak up on an enemy. Instead of taking them out nice and quiet like usual, you stand there and stab just the absolute hell out of them. It makes a ton of noise, and it gets all the attention of nearby enemies who see you literally brutalizing one of their comrades, and it makes them almost immediately all turn tail and run. And while it's not directly related to terror, the dominate ability, it's really part of all this, because just look at these guys' faces when you dominate them. They're just so scared looking. It's like, geez, leave the orcs alone. You're just bullying them at this point. At number 3 is The Punisher. Even though it was meant to be a tie-in to a mostly forgettable 2004 Punisher movie, the game's actually more of an adaptation of the recent comics, the ones where Frank Castle is more like a terrifying angel of death than any recognizable human being. The game definitely leans into that by making our man Frank a walking tank that can take an absurd amount of damage without dying and who brutalizes everything that gets in his way. It's a given that everyone's scared of this guy. I think like half the dialogue in this game is some variation of someone shouting, "It's Frank!" And it's in like a terrified tone. It's the Punisher! Almost everything you do seems to leave the bad guy shaken and terrified. When you perform a close-range takedown, everybody nearby gets stunned in terror. Makes it easier to run over and grab them and give them the same treatment. The takedowns themselves show just how scared everyone is of this guy. They're so mortified that Frank could just casually toss a gun into their hands and stab them in the face with a knife. These guys are so scared, they don't even try to fight back. Gets even more ridiculous when Frank goes into psycho mode, like somehow more psycho than normal mode. The screen goes blood red, and in this form, the enemies, they all try to run away. They panic and beg for mercy, but it's all over. Frank's in kill mode, there's no stopping him. I haven't even mentioned all the grisly interrogations, which also leave most enemies begging for their lives and terrified. The Punisher really wants us to know that Frank is one of these scary MFers, and despite the game's flaws, it does manage to drive that point home at least.
Why should I let you live?
I don't do drugs, man. I just live here. Okay, I do drugs. Let me go. I can talk to the guys in 2B for you.
You've been rehabbed.
And number 2 is Dishonored. Probably one of the most interesting aspects to this classic stealth frickin' juggernaut is how your reputation evolves organically depending on how you play it. If you stealth through the game perfectly, never getting alarms called or anybody seeing you while mostly choking guards out, then you gain the reputation of being a ghost, a spirit of vengeance out to expose the conspiracy. If you play it as a crazed killer, then people are less afraid of the justice that you represent and more of you personally. If you finish the game with high chaos, the final mission is very different, and one of the best things about it is how scared everybody is. The 3 remaining targets are so paranoid that they've all turned on each other. When you confront Martin, he's so freaked out by you, he kills himself rather than try to face you.
I can't stop you from going after Emily, but I'm not going to give you the privilege. I was born into nothing, and it's nothing I'll return to.
All the other conspirators are just as afraid, essentially sabotaging themselves because they're so frightened, and that obviously makes them easy targets. The high chaos version of the Final 11 Dishonored is so satisfying, you fully embrace being the monster, and nothing can stand in your way at this point. Everyone's so scared of you, they don't even try.
Give yourself up.
Someone's down.
Come out. We both know you're weak at heart.
Take this!
And finally, at number 1, the Batman Arkham series. The game that started it all, before Batman came around, you were rarely the hunter in stealth games. You were the hunted. Stealth was rarely empowering in games. It was a challenge you had to overcome. But in Batman, the shadows are where you're the most powerful. Instead of feeling like a desperate struggle for survival, stealth in Batman puts you in control, and you can play with your food before moving in for the kill. It's incredibly satisfying, and it cannot be understated just how revolutionary this all felt back when Arkham Asylum came out. As you take out enemies in a group, they go from confident to worried to paranoid. The more enemies become aware just how screwed they are, the more erratic they become. Unlike in something like Mark of the Ninja, where scared enemies become more predictable, in the Arkham games, they actually become harder to pin down. They move more cautiously and dart around more inconsistently. They turn around out of nowhere and run for no reason. You can use your fear to your advantage, though, because they really do end up seeing you. They're so scared that they just fall over instead of shooting at you.
Get away from me! Get away!
They'll eventually recover if they see Batman from far enough away, but if you're right behind them, they have no chance. They get so scared, and even when they have the perfect opportunity to kill Batman, they fumble it. Causing fear in the Batman games just never stops being satisfying. It's one of the many reasons these games are the ultimate Batman simulators. They just got every aspect of the whole thing down.
Is anyone gonna help me? Hello? I need help here!
And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter and book me on Cameo at Falcon Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.